Today we got a 2004 Chevy 2500 HD. We got a brake fluid leak. I don't know if you can see that. It's still pretty full, so the easiest way is on a dry day, go out, pump your brakes, and then start looking around the car. This one wasn't too bad to find. It's coming actually off of both these are rusted off of the master cylinder there. So these run down to the ABS module right underneath the driver's door, right underneath the driver's seat. All these run up into the ABS module. It looks like on this vehicle almost all of these guys were changed except for these two lines, which run right along the chassis and are known for rusting out because of the location. They just get salt spit up. Your first order of business is going to be jacking your truck up. You're going to at some point need to get all four tires up off the ground. Right now I just got the front two. I'm going to take this front driver's side one off so I got easier access to get this line out. I can see in there better. One thing I'd go ahead and do, is because we're going to need to bleed these brakes, is just put a little bit of PB blaster or something in there right once you take this off. There's 5 lines that connect into that. 2 of them are the 2 that we're going to be taking off on the master cylinder. 1 line, this one on the right here, you can see comes up, and then right there goes along the front over to the other, and then this one on the left right here, this guy comes up and goes to the driver's side tire on this side. So, and then the other one, the 5th one, goes to the back axle and then splits off there. So if we were doing all the brakes, you'd need to do this systematically. You'd have to go with this one, which is the rear brakes first. Then you'd want to do the front passenger side brake, and then the front driver's side brake. Then you'd want to go with the 2 that go to the master cylinder. Otherwise, you're going to be having a really hard time tightening these down. Okay, so now that we got that first one out, we're going to work it out. We have to get these cables up and out of here, all the way up. And then we should be free to pull it out. It's just going to be wiggling it back and forth, trying to figure out how to get it out. Okay, so this is why it's easier. Just take the tire off, because back up there, right there, is our ABS. Follow that line. We got clip here, and then it just goes up. So this right here, these are really the last 2 holding it in. One thing I'm gonna suggest, just to make sure you don't ruin this cable, just to pop this guy off. Just go in there behind that tab, pop it out. So that first line I took off down there goes to the port nearest the driver. The next one we'll take off, which would be the one on the right, the farthest right of the ABS block, goes to this port, which is nearest to the front of the car. The easiest thing I found with both of these is take them from back here where the ABS is and go this way up, pull it through the wheel well, and then, I mean, these are the old ones. You can break them if you want to, just get them out, cut them if you need to. If you're trying to see how the next one's gonna go in, you're gonna have to do it the same way. Just reverse. She'll come right up through there. So now that we got that, we're gonna take our new brake lines. I like to get these, they're the Dorman brand, easy instructions. Straighten it out right there. This master cylinder, front port. So then we kept track of which port this guy will go to on the ABS. Now the first step is to just feed this back down through along the wheel well to the back port. We'll get it hooked in to the ABS and that one we just took out, and then we'll feed the next one down. We'll get that one hooked in. All right, we got this first one fed down through there. It was actually really easy. It just takes a matter of getting it down there and twisting it the right way, and then feeding it back along the chassis on the top side. Make sure it doesn't get down in any spots. All right, so that first line came down right up here, along, and right here. So the nice thing about these is if you need to, you can bend them just a little bit. Because I mean, it's not perfectly centered on there, and that's gonna make it a little bit difficult. So if you need to, you can just tweak it a little bit. Just don't go too much. You just wanna make sure that when you're putting this in, you can get that centered up. Otherwise, you're gonna be spinning forever trying to get that in there. When you're jamming that down there, as you can see, you might get a little junk in the end. You're gonna wanna make sure you clean that out. All right, now that you've cleaned out the port, and also make sure that this guy is all clean. It's time to try to line them up and then start it by hand if you can. All right, now that it's back in, you can clip it back into place. Here, 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 and then you can tighten that one down. That's all we're doing for this second line. Same thing. Got it going straight down there, and then around the wheel, and we're gonna guide it straight back along the chassis. I think really the biggest thing with feeding these down through is making sure it doesn't get caught on the other side of these two big cables. They come right along that other side, and they'll clip down into this clip here, and then make sure you don't get them all tangled up in these guys right up in here. But that came down in a almost perfect spot. Again, make sure you clean this port out, clean the tip off here. All right, now that it's started, hand tight, just finish tightening it up. Don't forget to plug this guy back in, sensor. All right, the big thing is on these lines is just make sure they're not rubbing each other, and make sure they're not rubbing the chassis. If it gets just rubbing up against this, it's gonna rub it raw. It's gonna start rusting a lot faster, and then we're gonna run into the same problem. As long as they're in these slots here and running along there, and then in the slots back there, you're good. All right, now that the tires are off, need to top this off with fluid. It's .3 for this one. Double check, make sure you got the right fluid, and then we'll start the bleeding process. Once you have all 4 tires off, go ahead and pop the bleeder valve on the back passenger side. And we'll do this in order: rear passenger, rear driver, front passenger, front driver side. Bleed them in that order to get all the air out. So get a clear tube, put it over the end of the bleeder valve, pop the bleeder valve loose, and then you're going to want that hose to be going down into a clear and clean container of the .3 brake fluid. I always just pour some clean fluid into that container, and then you want the end of that hose to be dipping down into that fluid. This is going to ensure that when you go in and you pump the brakes, after you crack that valve, you pump the brakes on each one, you're going to get all of that air out of the line. So then go back, top off your fluid, make sure there's enough in there. If there's still air in that line that you can see, keep pumping it. What you should be able to see is you should be able to push that brake down, and you should feel it come back up slowly and have consistent push down. If you go back, you'll be able to see if there's air in the line. If there's air in the line, continue to compress that brake, push it down, let it up consistently. Because what you want to see is, like in this example here, you want to see that there is fluid filling the entire hose with no air bubbles in it. And when you have the hose going down into that other brake fluid, this ensures that no fluid can travel, or no air bubbles can travel back up into the brake caliper through that bleeder valve. So as you can see here, I compressed the brake. I'm squeezing fluid through. There are no bubbles. So this one is good to go. I'll just come back. We'll tighten that bleeder screw back down, and then we'll be all set. And as you can see here, that hose should be full of fluid still because it created a suction. And then when you take that off, you'll see all that fluid come out, and there were no bubbles in that line. So you repeat this for every brake caliper. Make sure you double check the fluid level after you bleed that last brake, and then you are good to go to put all the tires back on and set her back down to the ground. Take her for a test drive.